He has made the leap across the Atlantic to London, tackling issues that some people face every day at work. It's set in one of Chicago's wealthiest hospitals. Rasheeda Speaking by Joel Drake Johnson follows the story of two receptionists tackling underlying racism in the workplace, as well as white guilt and manipulation by men. Well, joining us are the two stars of the play, Tanya Moodie and Elizabeth Berrington. Great to see you both. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for having us.
It all sounds very serious, Tanya, but actually, it's a comedy.
It's a comedy. Yeah. It's really, really funny. I mean, we've laughed a lot in rehearsal.
We have.
We opened last night, and I was thinking, are they going to laugh? Have we just been, like, fooling ourselves? But actually, they were.
They did,
hysterics.
thank goodness.
Yes, yeah. All the places that I thought were funny, and more.
Because it's quite a heavyweight topic, isn't it?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about discrimination in any way, sense or form, if you're talking about people who are very close friends suddenly having conflict between them, then it does feel serious. But, you know,
yeah.
I think...
And it's based loosely on a true story, isn't it, Elizabeth?
Yes, it's a true story. So the writer, Joel Drake Johnson, was unwell and had gone to a big private hospital in Chicago and had an experience with a receptionist there who he thought was abrupt and rude.
He
was yes, and he was feeling vulnerable at the time and mentioned it to his consultant, and the receptionist was summarily sacked, and he was mortified because he thought maybe somebody might mention something, but please don't lose your job. So anyway, his response was to write the play. I also think he was in communication with the woman who did lose her job, but then it's become a much broader piece about, well, possibly what was that woman's day like, what was taking place on that day that he had that experience with that woman, and so a much bigger discussion about
the systems,
about race and
relationships.
And
so it's interesting, that, isn't it? So people will leave the theatre and their minds will be whirring, thinking about their own jobs, their own lives, their own interactions with people. Is that what you're hoping?
I thought you could sense that last night, actually. We had a predominantly white audience last night, but you can feel a hesitancy as people are challenged, just because it's provocative and challenging, and it does start to unpick the areas in which we feel most comfortable, you know?
Well, we can see some footage from it now, and that's an interesting point you make, isn't it? Because when you go to the theatre and you look around, there aren't many coloured faces there, are there? There aren't many people of colour in the audience. It does tend to be a very white pastime going to the theatre, in this country at least.
Well, I think it depends on where you go, what you want to see, the subject matter, the efforts of different theatres in terms of their outreach department. You know, I think that, you know, we go out and we want to be entertained in the way we want to be entertained, and, you know, I don't think there's no way I can, like, analyse that now in terms of who goes to the theatre, why, how many, what makes them laugh.
Yeah, well, perhaps we'll leave that for another time. I'd like to talk to you about is your badges. You're both wearing badges, 50-50. Tell me about that, Elizabeth.
Well, in 2015, we became aware as actresses of research papers that had been done by Gina Davis, a famous actress of Thelma and Louise fame, and it was about the underrepresentation of women in international film. And this huge survey had been done, and the results were terrifying. There were, you know, essentially 2 males to every female. Only 17% of a given crowd scene will be women. BAME women of disability are barely there at all. And in children's film, you'll have 3 little male animated characters to every 1 female. So it then took us on a journey about, well, what is the societal cost for us in the UK of women and girls being underrepresented so hugely, and actually how does that affect the men in our lives as well, because women appear to have less agency, they speak less when they are on screen. How does that reduce us in the eyes of men and boys, and what is the cost?
Are things changing then? I mean, we know the Oscars, don't we, a couple of years ago, that was terribly underrepresented as well in terms of people of colour. I mean, do you think the industry is changing, getting better?
Well, I think active dialogues is always helpful, and I'm a firm believer that actually there's never any finite arrival point and never any finite solution for issues of equality and diversity. It's an ongoing discussion, and I think it takes being really active, really aware, I think people have to be going, what are we doing now?
Exactly.
What are we doing in terms of access?
And also, I like the quote, Sophie Walker's quote, that no one's coming to the rescue. So if you don't do it yourself, nobody else is going to do it. And what viewers ought to know, the women out there, is they're the majority audience, actually, and women statistically are the ones with the remote control. Yeah. So as an entire gender, women and girls should fairly see themselves represented. And what is the cost to us not doing that? And also, movies and TV with women in make money. We're talking about cold hard cash. We're talking about Handmaid's Tale and Happy Valley and shows that women and men want to watch and feel
shows that have been hugely successful. Yeah. And we wish you a lot of success with your play. It sounds great, and thank you very much for coming in and discussing that with us.
Thank you.
Cheers. It's set to be